Saving money for a home right now can feel impossible, especially every time you bring it up. Someone says, "Good luck buying a house in this market. You'll never save enough. Just keep renting." And after hearing that over and over, it starts to get in your head. You start wondering, am I being foolish for even having this dream? But here's what I want you to know today: saving for a home is possible when you have a clear goal and a simple plan. Not a perfect plan, not a huge plan, just a clear one. So if you're tired of renting and you want to buy your first home in and or around Rockwall, Texas, this is where I'd start. The real problem is not just money. A lot of people think the biggest problem is the down payment. And yes, money matters. But for many first time home buyers, the bigger problem is all the noise around them. People have strong opinions about home ownership. Some people are negative because they had an actual bad experience. Some people are just repeating what they heard online. And some are giving you advice even though they are not where you want to be. This does not mean that they are bad people, but it does mean you have to be careful who gets a vote in your dream. If your goal is to stop renting and to buy your first home, you need guidance from people who can help move you forward, not just opinions that keep you stuck. All right, let's get into this simple plan. Step one is going to be to set a clear goal. I'm going to differentiate this a little bit from a vision. I'm going to say that your vision may be to stop renting and to own your or buy your first home. Now, a clear goal would be a little more specific. It's going to be measurable and it's going to have a timeline element. So, for example, you may say that you want to save $40,000. So that's measurable. You'll know if you'll hit that or not. And it's specific by January 1st, 2028. And so that's where the timeline comes in. So now we have a clear goal. We've got an amount, we've got a time, and we know that the action is going to be to save that money up, which is going to position us best to buy our first home. Step two is a simple one, but it's really important, and that is to write it down. Now, I think it's fine if you write down in the notes section on your phone. You can write it on a piece of paper. You can type it up and put it with your other goals if you have other goals that you set. Just know that if you do even a little bit of research on goal setting, you're going to find that there's studies that have shown there's a lot of power in the simple act of writing down your goals. All right, step three is also relatively simple, but you've got to be careful here. Step three is to share your goal with the right people. So what do I mean by the right people? You want to share your goal probably with someone who's close to you, but you really want to choose someone that's going to be encouraging. Sharing is all about accountability and encouragement. So maybe this is a spouse. I would probably discourage you from posting it online. We can see a lot of negativity online. So why start yourself off with that? But find if you've got a spouse, great. If you've got a close friend who's always encouraging, or a mentor, those are all great choices as someone to share your goal with, can ask you about it, help hold you accountable, make sure that you are sticking with your goal, but also be encouraging. So a mentor might be someone who's already done what you want to do. Now, by the way, if we haven't met, my name's Jerry, and my mission is to help people discover possibilities and act on opportunities. If for some reason you don't have someone in your life close to you that you can trust to encourage you, then I'd be happy to be that person for you. You can go to the comment section. I'll put a link on how you can contact me there. Now, step number 4. You're going to want to revisit your goal on a regular basis, and that can be something different for everyone. I hear a lot of people will put a little post-it on their mirror so that when they get up in the morning, it's the first thing they see. And when they go to bed at night, it's the last thing that they see. They'll look at it while they're brushing their teeth. Another one that I see a lot is they'll put it on the visor in their car. And so it's something that every time they get in their car, they can pull down and see, and they're just reminding themselves. And so when I say revisit your goal regularly, daily is not too often to revisit that goal and keep it in your mind. Of course, some more modern ways that you might see that regularly is you can set up reminders, or you can set a notification with your phone that that message comes across to you a certain time every day or multiple times a day. All right, step number 5 is don't be surprised when opportunities start showing up. And so, what do I mean by that? When you're surrounding yourself with negativity, you start to think that things are impossible. But by setting this goal, by sharing it, writing it down, you are putting in place intention. So that clarity can oftentimes lead to additional opportunities. What do I mean by that? So just by clearly knowing what you want to do, you might see ways that you can save money, right? You might say, wow, because this goal is important to me, all of a sudden having 10 streaming services isn't as important. So I can save, I can go down to maybe 3 and happily save that money. Another opportunity might be that you have an opportunity to do some overtime at work. And because you have a certain goal for that money, it's not something you maybe want to do for a long period of time, but you're happy to do it. Or maybe it's a side hustle, or maybe it's a completely new job opportunity. So, like I said, when you get clear, when you get intentional, opportunities will show up. So don't be surprised. All right, step number 6, and that is to track it. It's hard to know if you're making any progress if you're not measuring it. Remember, we set a goal that is measurable. And so you just want to set something in place where that you are actually measuring it. Now, if you're a very visual person, you might benefit from, doing one of those old school thermometers that and drawing a picture of that and marking off as you incrementally make it towards your goal, and maybe posting that on your refrigerator or posting that on a vision board or whatever works for you. I'm kind of nerdy, so I just put mine into a spreadsheet and I would update that very regularly, at least monthly, and then I would know how close I was getting to my goal. Whatever it is for you, just make sure that you don't skip step 6, and that is to track it. Now, the next step, step 7, is one that a lot of people miss in goal setting in general, but I'm going to encourage you not to skip it. And that is step 7, celebrate your milestones. And so by milestones, I mean, let's say that you did have that goal of 40,000, right? So maybe your milestones are, I really just need to real hard, save $500. And then you can celebrate that. And then maybe your next goal that you celebrate is 1,000, then 2, then maybe 5, right? You can set those milestones depending on what your goal is. Now, when I say celebrate your goal, I'm not saying, oh, hey, to do things that will jeopardize your goal, right? You don't want to plan a $10,000 trip to Disney World when you save $12,000, right? You want to, it doesn't have to be extravagant. Maybe it's as simple as whoever your partner is sharing that with them. And maybe it's going to get a cup of coffee, or maybe it's going out to eat with your spouse if that's who you're sharing it with. So that's what I mean by celebrate. Not things that will derail you, but things that will acknowledge, hey, I've made progress, and encourage you to continue on that progress. All right, so there are 7 simple steps. So when someone says buying a home is impossible, you don't have to argue. You don't have to prove anything to them. You can simply come back to your plan. You can say, I have a goal. I've written it down. I'm tracking it. I am learning and I am moving forward. That is powerful because the goal is not to impress people with your dream. The goal is to build a life that you're proud of. And if your goal is to stop renting and to buy your first home, you don't have to have it all figured out today. You just need a clear goal and a simple plan. So to recap, this is where I'd start. Set a clear goal. Write it down. Share your goal with the right people. Revisit your goal regularly. Don't be surprised when opportunities start to show up. Track your progress and celebrate milestones. That is how a dream starts to become a plan, and that's how a plan starts to become real. Now, one of the biggest things that stops first-time home buyers is the belief that they need 20% down payment. And for many buyers, that may not be true. So the next video I'd recommend is this one on down payment resource. You don't need 20% down. And once you understand your down payment options, your goal may feel a lot more realistic than it does right now.